there's so many chefs who, like, we've all been like, okay, now that I'm starting to make it, I want to give back, right? And so many people have had that idea, not done it. Maybe they've dabbled in it, but it's like there's not a lot of, I don't know how you make money and give it. Like, there's so many things that will like hold people back. Do you feel like, and obviously you've dedicated, like, as I've learned recently, you've dedicated like a large amount of your career to that.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? Do you think it comes from like your dad being the guy who they would send the mute girl to? Like, do you feel like that? Like, where do you get this drive to want to?
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes I wonder if I'm a bit weird, but I get
we're all a bit weird.
I just I fall in love with people, and I fall in love with effort, and like I've got a very, very strong moral compass, like right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at listening and seeing both sides of the story, and I try not to talk about things unless I've experienced it physically, which gives me a better perspective. And I get really emotionally connected to things. So, it's kind of, I never knew I was like that, by the way, not until because when I went from basically being a skint chef to selling like 1.5 million books in no time. So like literally like zeros on my bank account. I'm like, Jesus.
That's wild.
And it was like, and I was a young lad. I was like 25 or
just
something.
like overnight.
It's like £1 million
much.
in the bank. It's like, you're kidding me.
Wild.
And it's a weird one because obviously it's exciting. That the obvious emotions, like, yeah, but they just push those aside. It's like, I didn't really feel like I earned it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't £1.20 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And but then you had to start processing that actually it's a true vote. So it's not, a lot of the votes that we see on social these days, particularly likes and comments, they're all free, so they kind of mean nothing. And even the capacity for just being a bitch is just so easy, and it's like kind of just unfiltered thoughts. And it's like, but I think like buying a book is like something, and I really quickly learned that the public was my boss. So I felt that heavy quickly. I didn't really know what to do with it, and then and no one believed me at the time, certainly journalists. But I promise you, it's true. I was uncomfortable with the zeros, and so I literally spent all of it. I mean, I was actually minus a couple of £100,000, which
wild.
I wasn't bankrupt, but technically I was, and I got another royalty check that saved my ass. And
what did you do? Just like
I set up 15, which is basically like a badass cool restaurant in an equivalent of like Meatpacking District, New York. And I just basically put it out to troubled kids that have a rough time.
So you financed the restaurant?
Everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, to minus 200.
Wow.
And before I'd even opened it. And they say, well, why did you do it? It's a marketing ploy. I didn't even know what bloody marketing was. Strategy. I didn't even know what strategic was.
Yeah, for the record, most people don't invest all of their money and then some on a marketing strategy.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was definitely stupid and naive. But the reason I did it is because I wanted to, I could, and I did.
And you believed in it.
And I was just a kid, right?
Yeah.
And so then, retrospectively, sort of makes me very cautious to not trust young people. I think like. There is genius to being wise and experienced and conservative and pragmatic, but that can also be like boring. So we have to read between the lines of both, I think. And I think certainly young Jamie at 20, I think I was 26 when I started.
That's when you opened 15.
Maybe younger. I can't remember. I'm just like, fuck it, I'm doing it. And I literally like, my dad was furious. He was like, because he couldn't quite understand what had happened anyway. Didn't really, like his mantra was you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. So like if they're broken kids, they're broken, like kind of lock them up, throw away the key sort of vibes. So, that was, but Dad had taught me so well, and his moral compass and his values and his work ethic were phenomenal, as were my mum's. But we just pulled these kids, quite a lot of them, a large proportion of them. My instinct was this, right? 2/3 kids, basically ex-cons / homeless, and then like 1/3 kids that are just sort of lost. And then that's the genius, by the way. So the genius is creating a team that you train, a cohort that aren't all from the same backgrounds and the same pain and the same troubles, because their ebb and flow, their vibe is the same. So when it goes high, that's tough, and when it goes low, that's tough. So what you want is kind of opposites. You want to undulate those vibes, and that's what you do by having kind of like a bit of age difference, a bit of cultural ethnicity diversity, and some class difference. And I know no one likes talking about class, but I don't know, like middle class, upper class, like working class, like whatever, but you get it, right? So I had some middle class kids in there, and a bunch of sort of inner city kids from council estates. And that was the genius. It was the choosing. And then we put infrastructure around them, which was just like, I guess, mentors.
And it all kind of balances itself out.
And then you give them second and third chances unconditionally.
Yeah.
And then you show them what diligent, extraordinary artisans look like. And it doesn't matter if it's food, an ingredient, or it could be a carpenter or a glassmaker or anything. And like just the context of an artisan is so as a chef, and you know the drill, right? So you just, like, we went hard on like going to source, relationships, and not just buying the best stuff, but collaborating with producers to, like, there might be like waste that's coming out of their product that we'll take, and then, or can we have that cheese like slightly less aged for a different product, because the fat splits out when you put it through the oven, and we'll keep that for room temperature eating and that for cooking, and like, not sure, dude, just can I have it like 4 months younger? And it's like, I can sell shit 4 months before, do you know what I mean? Like, because there's cash flow, right? It's all tied up in a cellar. So like, when we take our young people and show them people that live and die for that thing, they were like found it so curious, and because they're proper ghetto, like violent crime, drugs, naughty, and somehow, and then the trouble was always drug based. Generally, I'm generalizing, but I think it's fair to say that, and it was generally family, like feral family, shitty uncles, aunties. I never really understood. I never understood that. I never understood a parent could be jealous of a child. Like, we had a lot of students where the parents would lose them for 3 months, and the little kids would come back like buzzing. Mom, you never guess what? Like almost like with the beginnings of the aspiration to sort of like come out of like the ghetto, like get out finally. And I'm not exaggerating. Like I'm sort of. And then the parents would clamp down and say, no, I don't want you doing this course, like, because they love them running down to the corner shop and getting a bottle of gin. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, I never thought emotion of jealousy from a mother to a child could happen. I've seen it. And so that was a huge education to me. But about 9 months in, we used to go to this one place in Italy every year, Giovanni Minetti Fontodi. Like, he makes arguably one of the best red wines in Italy, Sassicaia, all that sort of stuff. It's a Fontodi, Flaccinello, right? And my young people used to they'd meet him, see his kindness, genuine kindness. They'd see how he dressed and how he presented himself. They'd see his cellar and his winemaking, and then they'd drink the wine. And then there'd be, and I know this sounds cheesy, but it is true, and it happened every year, and it was like hairs on the back. They would realize finally then 9 months in that consistency was exactly what life was all about. Just repeat. Like, don't be erratic. Don't be genius here and wild there. Like, consistency is how he made that product. Yeah. And you can't be an arsehole and make that product. It's just not part of it. And he was like early into biodynamics, which I don't want to go too rogue on your chat, but like biodynamics is essentially planting and harvesting with the moon cycles. So historically, people write it off as witchcraft, but it's just water tables, right? So you have a high tide, you have a low tide. So, you prune as it's low because you don't want it to weep and promote disease, right? You plant on the moon up, right? So it's just working, it's just sinking in. Like, so he's that deep. So,
which again, you can't be an asshole and actually talk to your plants.
Yeah. And anyone that's genius at product, and as you know, like any great food producer, is always an incredible human. Yeah. So imagine my young people just getting like littered. In. So, and it wasn't just Giovanni. There was probably like 40 of those people.
So you were also you were exposing these kids to fantastic role models, or at least people that they could say, wow, this isn't very, like, look where this guy or this lady is in their life. I would want to be like them.
Yeah. And just second and third and fourth chances. And it's funny, I never forget, like, it took me about 3 years to realize, because I thought on graduation day, we used to graduate about 80% of our young people. And you get all the parents in, and you do an award ceremony. They'd all get one of these. Right? It's a little dog tag. So every 15 graduate, 489 of them have got one of these. And I got, oh my God! I just in my head going, I thought there was all these single dads, like, because they're obviously one of the patterns, which is a true pattern in this country, and mine is like just dads that are not there.
Yeah.
And there was all these dads there, and I'm like getting quite choked up, and I'm like, fuck, this is amazing. But it took 3 years to realize it was parole officers. And no one ever gives cred to parole officers. Like, honestly, parole officers that notice kids would push them onto me. Oh, yeah. And then I get to know them, obviously, because you can't have the same dad coming back every year. Like,
how many kids do you have?
Prolific. How many? You got 30 kids? But no, I kind of like these jobs in society that you never give credit to. Like they don't just service like wrong-uns. Like there are parole officers that
role models.
They're doing it for a reason, and they spot ones with hope, like glimmers of hope, and then they try and offset them somewhere where they might just change the path.
That's super inspirational that you did all this for the kids.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was born. It was quite organic. Huh? Yeah. I mean, I think it was. I think my pub mentality, which is a village mentality, which is essentially like reduced.
It's a meritocracy.
Yeah, bring community in. Yeah.
So I tried to create a community in that, and we did. And we did it very well for 17 years. And it's definitely the best thing I ever did. But 40-year-old Jamie wouldn't have done it, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm too boring and too.
Well, you got to be young and a little bit dumb.
Yeah, I was wild. I'm not wild, but like I was just stupid enough, which is a gift sometimes.
Yeah, and you believed in something, and
you
all
did
in.
All in.
Yep, just everything in.
With lots to lose.